As a child, I used to imagine the world's creation as a very short event, a cosmic spark that brought everything into existence in what seemed like a moment. But as I've grown older, I've come to realize how mistaken that perception was. A planet as intricate, as nuanced, as utterly unique as ours couldn't simply appear in an instant. It defies logic. No, the truth is far more profound. This world unfolded over such a vast period of time that it is hard for many human beings to even fathom. And this brings us to the quandary we must explore. If an all-powerful creator who could simply snap this world into existence instead took 6 days to create it, this begs the question: why on earth did he take so long? Growth is an extraordinary process, but here's the irony: we seldom appreciate it while it's happening. As children, we want to be tall enough to ride the roller coaster. As teenagers, we long to come of age and be considered legal. Yet, when we reflect on life's grandest moments of transformation, we begin to see a divine rhythm woven into the process of growth. Nowhere is this clearer than in the story of how our world came into being. When observing the 6 days of creation described in Genesis, a fascinating pattern emerges. On day 1, God creates time itself. Contrary to popular belief, God didn't create light on that day, but he said, "Let light be there," and light was displaced towards planet Earth. Reading Isaiah 45 verse 7 and 1 John 1 verse 5, we realize that God is light, and one cannot create what has always existed. So the light of God's presence separated day and night, giving 12 hours for each, and giving us the first complete day. On day 2, he separates the waters below from the waters above, creating a breathtaking expanse, a sky stretching over the primordial world. On day 3, God separates the dry land from the seas, revealing the various forms of vegetation that beautified the land. Now, have you noticed the pattern yet? In these first 3 days, creation moves forward through separation. God divides and defines. But then, on day 4, a shift occurs. On this 4th day, God returns to the objects he separated on the first day and night. But instead of more division, he begins to fill those spaces. He multiplies the sources of light, the sun, the moon, and the stars, scattering them in brilliance across the heavens. On day 5, he turns his attention back to the separated waters. This time, instead of separating, he multiplies life within the seas and the sky. There are fish darting in the oceans and birds soaring above, both blessed to multiply and thrive. And on day 6, God's focus returns to the dry land. But now, just as the previous days, he populates it, multiplying animals of every kind and finally forming humanity, crowned with the command to be fruitful and multiply. Can you see the pattern? The first 3 days emphasize separation, while the next 3 highlight multiplication. And if this pattern feels familiar, it's because it mirrors a process as old as life itself, mitosis. But a cell does not multiply its various parts and eventual organs until it first separates within itself. In both the microcosm of the cell and the macrocosm of the planets, we see the same divine fingerprint. But the pattern doesn't stop with biology or the natural world. It carries forward in the story of humanity. Consider Abraham. Living comfortably in Ur of the Chaldees, he is called by God to do something unthinkable, to leave his homeland, to separate from his people. Can you imagine the uncertainty, the weight of such a command? Yet Abraham obeys, stepping into the unknown. One night, while he's still wandering in the wilderness, God speaks again. "Look up, Abraham," he says. "Do you see the stars? So shall your descendants be. Multiplication, promised in the brilliance of the heavens, For a man whose greatest longing was for a child, this was no ordinary promise. It was everything. From one man, one barren couple, came a nation as countless as the stars. So what does this mean for us? It means that just as creation unfolded with separation leading to multiplication, just as cells divide before they grow, and just as Abraham's family multiplied after a season of separation, God's process of growth in our lives follows the same pattern. When life calls you to separate from the familiar, the friendly, or even what's foundational, it is rarely easy. It may feel painful, lonely, or even purposeless. But take heart. God never calls for separation without the intention of multiplication in your life. Perhaps He's separating you from a place of comfort to draw out potential you didn't even know was within you. Perhaps He's dividing your life as it is now so that something greater can take root and grow. So when the nights feel dark, when the loneliness is heavy, when the road of separation seems isolated, just like the stars were the sign to Abraham, God's multiplication is what always comes next. And with this truth in your heart, you can confidently trust the process.
Thank you so much for taking a minute to watch this video. My name is Nwamiko Madden, and this is the official relaunch of Certain Sound Media online. If you enjoyed what you just watched, there's 3 ways you can help us out. You can play these videos by sharing them with your friends and family everywhere. You can pray for hearts to be touched by the content, or you can pay a visit to our Subscribe Star or Patreon, where a free book awaits you along with the option to financially support us. With certainty, once again, thank you so much.